Welcome back to another 13 days of Christmas. Katie's going to pick our blend out of the Christmas box. She wrapped so nicely.
Well, that's right. I'm not looking.
No. I will look up whatever blend you pick.
Santa. It's one of CloudBear's packages?
That is a CloudBear Christmas blend, and I have the info right here. That one is Burley's Cavendish with the essence of hazelnut cookies.
Ooh. Okay, you had me at hazelnut. Oh, that might be really good. Have you smelled it yet?
Yeah, I have.
Which pipe am I loading?
Let's do this guy. Hasn't seen a lot of love lately. Now, while Katie loads the bowls, I'm going to read a short Christmas story. Now, it's short as far as it's not a book. It is kind of long.
Get to it.
$1.87. Oh, actually, hold on. Stop. Rewind that. Let me read you the title. It's called The Gift of the Magi, or Maggie, if you're not familiar. Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with the silent imputation of parsimony that such close detailing implied. 3 times Delia counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Delia did it, which instigates the moral reflection that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles and sniffles predominating. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the first stage to the second, sorry, I stumble sometimes. Take a look at a home. A furnished flat at $8 per week, it did not exactly beggar description. But it certainly had that word on the lookout for the medicinary squad. Not familiar with that. In the vestibule below was a letterbox, into which no letter would go, and an electric button from which no mortal finger would coax a ring. Also appertaining thereunto was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham had been flung into the breeze during a former period of prosperity, when its possessor was being paid $30 a week. Now, when the income was shrunk to 20, though they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and unassuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat, above he was called Jim and greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Delia, which is very good. Delia finished her cry and attended to her cheeks. With the powder rag, she stood by the window and looked out dully at the gray cat walking a fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months, With this result, $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a present for her Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him, something fine and rare and sterling, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. There was a pier glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a pier glass in an $8 flat. A very thin, very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Delia, being slender, had mastered the art. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color. Within 20 seconds, rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were two possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs, in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch, that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Delia's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Delia would have let her hair hang out the window someday to dry, just to depreciate. Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been a janitor, with all of his treasure piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. So now Delia's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her. And then she did it up again, nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still, while a tear or two splashed down on the worn red carpet. On her old brown jacket, on her old brown hat, with a twirl of skirts and with a brilliant sparkle in her eye, she fluttered out of the door and down the stairs to the street, where she stopped at the sign and read, M.M.E. Sofrini, hair goods of all kinds. One flight up, Delia ran and collected herself, panting. Madam, large, too white, chilly, hardly looked the saffronic, or saffroni. I'm not familiar with that. Will you buy my hair? Asked Delia. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off, and let's have a sight at the looks of it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. Give it to me quick, said Delia. Oh, and the next 2 hours, tripped on rosy wings. Forget the hashed metaphor. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present.
Sure.
Continue.
Let's see. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by... Why did you pick this? What is this word? Meretricious? Ornamentation. I need the Google to pronounce.
You're ruining the story.
I wasn't anticipating I would have pre-read it, had I known. As all good things should do, it was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value, the description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of the old leather strap that he used in place of a chain. When Della reached home, her intoxication gave way a little to prudence and reason. She got out her long curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love, which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, a mammoth task. Within 40 minutes her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a trot schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, long, carefully, and critically. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he'll say I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do, oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7 o'clock the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard his step on the stair, away down on the first flight, and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying a little silent prayer about the simplest everyday things, and now she whispered, "Please, God, make him think I am still pretty." The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow. He was only 22 and to be burdened with a family. He needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. Jim stopped inside the door as immovable as a setter at the scent of quail. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. Della wriggled off the table and went for him. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say, Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You've cut off your hair?" asked Jim, laboriously, as if he had not arrived at that patent fact yet, even after the hardest mental labor. "Cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well anyhow? I'm me without my hair, ain't I?" Jim looked about the room curiously. "You say your hair is gone," he said with an air almost of idiocy. "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you. Sold and gone, too. It's Christmas Eve. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs off my head were numbered." She went on with sudden serious sweetness. "But nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim?" Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He enfolded his Della for 10 seconds, let us regard with discreet scrutiny some inconsequential object in the other direction. $8 a week or $1,000,000 a year, what is the difference? A mathematician or a wit would give you the wrong answer. The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. This dark assertion will be illuminated later on. Your turn again. What do you think of the blend? I have a feeling I know where this is going. An inkling.
Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. "Don't make any mistake, Dell," he said, "about me. Don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or shave or shampoo that could make me like a girl any less. Or my girl any less, sorry. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going for a while at first." White fingers and nimble tore the sterling paper, and then an ecstatic scream of joy, and then, alas, a quick feminine change to hysterical tears and wails, necessitating the immediate employment of all of the comforting powers of the lord of the flat. For there lay the combs, the set of combs, side and back, that Delia had worshipped for long in a Broadway window. Beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell with jeweled rims, just the shade to wear in the beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply craved and yearned over them without the least hope of possession. And now they were hers. But the tresses that should have adorned and coveted adornments were gone. But she hugged them to her bosom, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes and smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Delia leaped up like a little singed cat and cried, "Oh, oh." Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull, precious metal seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. "Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it for you. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. "Dell," he said, let's put our Christmas presents away and keep 'em a while. They're too nice to just use as a present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs, and now you're supposed to put the chops on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger as they invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of a duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the unfaithful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest of treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that all who give gifts, these two were the wisest of all who give and receive gifts, as they are the wisest. Everywhere they are the wisest, they are the Magi. I don't know what that last paragraph was really alluding to outside of it's good to give, and you should give with your heart. That was the story.
That's a cute story.
Now back to tobacco.
Burley, I don't mind.
This tastes. Now I know that. I hope that this is taken as a compliment, but this tastes somewhat reminiscent of Tom Bigby, Country Squire's Tom Bigby. To me.
Doesn't ring a bell. To me.
We have some.
Okay.
I know if it doesn't have Latakia in it, it doesn't bear remembering.
Oh, come now. In 3 or 4 months, it'll be some other thing. Before that was vanilla. Before that was cherry.
This is nice, though. This is very nice.
It is.
It's not overpowering. And it goes really well with our hot cocoa Katie made just for making this video.
It does. It's sweet, but not too sweet.
I don't know if this is a yearly blend for him. Because these are questions I probably should have asked, but I didn't know what you were going to pick, so I wasn't prepared. Which is the way we do things.
That's how we roll. Just go for it. The story makes me think of a couple Christmases ago when we couldn't do stuff for each other, and I made you the bear.
I love that bear.
I know. I got I waited for it to be on sale and got a wooden like decoration thing at Hobby Lobby. It was like a plain outline of a bear, and I did wood burning stuff on it, decorated it, made it all pretty.
I hope everyone likes the reduced lighting in here. The camera's really far away, so from what I can see, there's this caution vest that I'm clearly wearing. And then Katie apparently has a floating head.
Floaty. Yeah, I can't make out my outline. The dog won't come sit with me. He's on the other side of the couch. Poor Lauren.
Her paws in the footage in the video. One of her paws. Well, it's in frame now. I guess if I edit it, it probably won't, because that'll like shrink it down.
Come here. Come sit with me. No, you come over here. I'm comfortable. Lazy bones. She's at her walk. It snowed.
I really like
Good
the
day.
burley in here.
It's not too strong or overpowering.
I feel like it adds to that hazelnut that he's suggesting.
I think I might like this one more than that other hazelnut one we got from Havana Manor. Do you remember?
Peter Stokeby's hazelnut,
it?
I think. I think it was
I
Stokeby's.
think I like this better.
Could have been Sutliff. No, he didn't have any Sutliff.
I count on you to be my tobacco dictionary and encyclopedia.
A role I am clearly happy to fulfill.
Excellent.
Well, we hope this Christmas season's doing well for y'all, and we're not going to take too much longer. These don't all need to be 40 minutes. If you got some of this, I know a lot of the CloudBear blends are sort of limited run, but if you got some, leave your comments, or if you guys have any questions or want to try and reach out to Adam in the future, you can leave a comment. I can send you a link to his Instagram, and you can talk to him from there. This is a tremendous little aromatic.
Indeed.
This is repeatable. Maybe not back to back for me. I'm not huge on aromatics. So the 100 blends in 100 days did teach me. Oh, our housekeeping. This is not my Washington. This is my, what do they call this one? I don't know. It's the raw cob. There's not plaster on it.
I don't know what this one is.
This is the Rory.
Garrett handed it to me.
It's St. Patrick's Day pipe, but it has a sort of a Christmassy vibe.
It's green and gold.
The bowl's almost a red.
Almost.
Well, guys, we will see you again, or if not we, I will see you again. Merry Christmas.